Morning guys, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training in Zoomy. We're heading out for our morning walk and I'll put her back in the kennel, give a few minutes for her to digest that, and then I will go probably load her up and go to the other side of the property and get her started on the tables, but I might do some table work with her now when we're walking. Yep, you go free, Huns. Good dog, good, yay. This is about letting her have freedom, potty break, and just companionship with me to start. And we just go into little pattern sets of what we expect of her and let her fall into that. One of these things is for her to come back to me and keep a certain amount of brain on me. Zoomy! See how she, good girl, Zoomy, good girl, good. Okay, hot dogs, hot dogs. All right, so what I wanted to do this morning is kind of have a little bit of a yak session in regards to this, right? When you have a dog like Gunzo, he's a real pretty good fear biter. He started to pick up on his behavior based on an owner that wasn't calm and assertive, and she didn't know how to understand what the dog was doing, and it created a whole different little monster. But it all really goes back to, and what I've talked about before is relationship dynamic. Really is about the owner and what that dog is expected and understands based on what that owner gives them. So in this case with Gunzo is what we're talking about now. Her inability to understand it and for it to start hold after the dog got attacked by the other dog and trauma, the first thing, we've talked about this before, that she did wrong is she came in and she gave the dog too much coddling. Oh my God, you know, you can see a natural human reaction in that regards. And when you do that, I've talked about it before, when you over coddle your dog and you're too much foo-foo and you want to have nurturing, that's for you, right? It makes you feel good when you can nurture an animal or a baby or anything, right? That's our human genetic stamp that we have within us. But we're two different creatures. A dog thinks and feels and does things a different way for different reasons based on its genetic stamps and its drives, emotional states of mind that are all based around being an animal. And so there's conflict, and that's why we talk about conflict. We talk about conflict, when you hear the word conflict, a lot of times it's in bite work and trying to get the dog to out and all kinds of things, and you'll hear the word conflict used. But in reality, what is conflict? All it is something that we want that's different than what the dog wants. There's a conflict between what I want and what the dog wants, okay? So when you come in a dog like that and you're trying to get what you want and you're not coming from the side of the science and the psychology of a dog psychology, canine psychology, then you're never going to succeed because, well, you're going to succeed, but it's going to take a lot more aggressive attitude and probably suppression and aversive. Dang it. Sorry about that, guys. Just dropped you on your head. And aversive based on again, what we want versus what the dog wants, right? So a great example of that is two ball or two tugs, whatever you see me doing, where I throw one and then I get the dog excited about the second one. They drop that ball or drop that object and it goes right into play or goes into the fetch game with that second item. And by doing that, you're actually no longer in conflict. You're going along with the instincts of the dog to try to chase and to want that excitement of that object getting thrown or going into play with me when I do my two tug game when the dog's coming back into me. And so you get rid of the conflict. There's no more conflict. The dog gets what he wants, but you also get what you want, right? You get the dog to out and then start a behavior loop that creates the dog understanding what out means without having to face it and take a baseball bat and beat the hell out of the dog and struggle and fight the dog. There's conflict there because the dog is being very directed towards his natural instincts. And so there's a good example of conflict, right? So conflict happens in a lot of different areas, in a lot of different places within your relationship with your dog, right? So the biggest thing that I can say when you see me doing projects like Gunzo, and now we're going to move into Zoomy here, they'll do things for different reasons. Zoomy's going to be more fear-based and not have a clue about what's going on around him. Gunzo, on the other hand, started to do the behavior because he has taken the pack leadership, and it's about driving things away from him that make him insecure and afraid. Fear is usually always the base of everything, right? Fear, insecurity, confidence is overcoming all of that and giving the dog strength through agility and through other things is the key to repairing the dog. But here I've done all this work, and I am doing all this work with Gunzo. He's soon to go back to the owner. And that's where the critical part starts, because in the end, it's all about the owner's relationship dynamic she has with her dog. And she has not a proper relationship dynamic. So all the work in the world of me conditioning the dog and doing what I do is not going to do any bit of good if the dog goes home and that person doesn't get off the couch and keep things up. A dog is not a robot. It's not a piece of machinery that I can just stick a bolt in and say, it's fixed. No, behavior is everlasting. Behavior is constantly changing, flexing. It comes from all kinds of different places. Your awareness of dog psychology and understanding that behavior is behavior, okay, is critical, right? So now we've got to educate the customer. In this case with Gunzo, I've got a relationship with a person that's subcontracting me, and that's his customer. So I'm going to rely on him understanding enough about his job to be able to educate and teach the owner, and to do his job to take on the responsibility of that next stage, which is he's got to give the lessons. He's got to work with the owner, and it depends on how good he is to get the owner off the couch, to keep him motivated, to keep him wanting to do it. Because here's what happens. Dog goes back home. The customer had a certain perspective in their mind. They expected certain things based on their perspective. And what is their perspective? 1,000,001 different things based on TV, based on what they watch, based on what they've been presented in their environment that has them feeling a certain way about what dog training is, right? And every person is different on what their perspective is. That's why I have a consultation. I have a consultation because I want to see the dog, but I also want to see the relationship between the dog and the owner, and I want to make sure that I educate them the best I can in regards to what they're going to get out of my service and what they need to do to get their dollars worth out of the service. Because what I always tell people, and this is so true, you pay a trainer to do a job, he goes back home, you don't follow through with it, you go back to your old same stuff that you do in your life cycle, that dog is going to backslide and go right back into that same behavior because of the fact that it's all about you. You have to change the way you treat this dog, and you have to really conform. I always tell my customers in the very beginning, you want to be a parrot. You want to basically be mimicking my voice tone, my attitude, everything. I'll show it all to you, but you got to be a parrot. You got to mimic everything and have that stuff be right there for that dog so that he right away falls into that same behavior loops that I've created and ways of thinking because of what I've done with him or her. Okay, and then you've got to mimic it in the very beginning, and as time goes along, you'll grow your relationship dynamic, and you can fall into being who you are, but you've got a lot to learn. And the deciding factor is really going to be you. If you don't get off the couch, if you don't put the time into that energy, you're pissing your money away, right? And that's what I try to tell all my customers. A dog is not a robot. He's a emotional creature that you're going to have to put a lot of work into to get what you need to out of the dog. Zoomy, what are you doing? She got to the chair and she jumped. I put the chair in there one day and she started getting in there and cuddling up in the chair. She likes this chair. Good girl. So that was what she did. She walked up on it. She just went right to the chair. And I'm going to put her away in the kennel for a few minutes, and then I'm going to bring her back out after I take a 5-10 minutes of break, and then I'll load her into the car. So we have a loading routine. Loading up into the vehicle. Yeah, good girl. So that she gets that. She got a pinch collar on her now, so she's learning with that. Good girl, good. All right. So this is Zoomy, and we're talking about Gunzo right now. So how critical is it that the owner gets off the couch? Well, think about something. That dog, when he got brought to me, his whole reactions in life and everything he's been doing has been a direct reflection of the owner creating this dog's way of thinking and it reacting. It's a very natural thing to happen. The dog got traumatized. The owner went over and showed the dog too much coddling. Oh my God, oh my God. And that probably went on for 2 or 3 weeks with her worried about that injury and the wound and nursing the dog back to health. And what happened? The human side of things, the human psychology came in and nurtured, my little snookums. And that makes things worse. Doesn't make it better. It makes it worse with the dog, right? When you do that, you create a neurotic mess. You create weakness. Treat the dog with what you want. Some grab the jowl, hard pats. It's all right, come on, let's go. Your attitude has to be different. The coddling and the nurturing will make a dog a mental midget faster than anything else. When I have dogs come to me and they're weak in that regards, it's always because the person has over-coddled the animal. And then we get into that one Malinois that I had that was real weak, and I had a husband and a wife that came through the training program, and we got to the end and I was labeling the feminine, right? The feminine, the female nature of, oh my God, my little baby. And I kind of related to that, and I always explain it from a female side and a male side and how we approach things emotionally. And got towards the end, and the wife looked at me and said, I'm not the one, it's him. And the husband spoke up and said, yeah, I'm the one. So in other words, it's not always male and female. Men do it too, right? And this man had over-coddled a dog as his little baby, and he had it on the couch, and that whole weakness came from him over-coddling his dog. So what is the rule with that? It doesn't mean you've got to be an asshole and be abusive to the dog and mean. That's not my point. My point is just don't. You get what you put in. If you want to foo-foo the dog, that's all for us. That's for the human factor. I do it too. My dogs sleep on my bed. They get cuddling time, but I have separation. The dog has to do everything it needs to do, and then when I ask the dog to come up, then I'll spend that time with the dog. Off the couch, boom. Now I go right back into life, and we go, So the dog understands that he's allowed to do it when I let him do it, and I don't keep him there all the time. That's not my overall overriding emotional thing that I give to the animal that creates weakness, right? And that's a big part of society as a whole, is us as humans, our genetic makeup and who we are. We have this tendency to want to get a dog to be able to have something to nurture. And that's all the more so when these cute little puppies come out, and the girl and the guy go out to buy a dog. And it's usual. There's really a very set thing that happens, okay, in maturity and everything else as our evolution in the creature that we are. As we mature, as we grow older, right? Usually I'll see a young couple with the wife that's getting near having babies and that kind of thing, and unconsciously, this doesn't happen in the front of their brain, but they have this need, and this nurturing need to want a child, and they'll get a dog. And then they'll put all that energy into the dog, and then as they go through this evolution as a couple, and their marriage and their relationship is going to a certain point, at some point, a lot of times the lady of the house will end up pregnant, and she'll have that baby, and I see it all the time, you know what I mean? That need to nurture, that need to be feminine and nurture my little baby is so prevalent, it's not even funny. Okay, and it happens all the time. We see it all the time. Okay, that's why I mention it. It's something you may not look at and realize in the evolution of what I look at when I evaluate people, and I see thousands of people just like I see thousands of dogs. That's what makes me a little bit better, because dog training is not just the dog, guys. It's the human factor that causes that dog to be what it is, pro or con, good or bad, right? So you hear that little Caesar always talking about, I train the owners, I don't train the dogs. Where do you think that came from? From me. Always talking about human factor, always talking about this, and always being a big bird in his ear. You know, he learned an awful lot from me. He doesn't say that. He'll never admit it. And after 20, 30 years, he finally came out and mentioned my name. And then he acted like he didn't know me. Mark, his acting classes were well served in that video. I cracked up because we were together for 2-3 years. You don't think this man knows who the hell I am? You know better than that. The only reason he mentioned my name, he was put up by another trainer that's a friend of his that was there and saying he needed to give me kind of credit, whatever. And for whatever reason, he decided to go ahead and talk about it. You know, when he first came over the border, it was 30 years ago. He barely knew any English, and he was kind of relating to where his head was at this time period, right? Now, how do I know when that was? I couldn't tell you the date, couldn't tell you the year, but I can look at it and say my timestamp was when his son, Andre, was born, right? That's when I was around. I don't even know the other son, right? When he was just born, and him and Illusion just had the new baby, and we were going out together, and he'd show up with the baby and the toddler and the diapers, walking around the dogs. You know, that's what I remember Andre. You know? And so that was my timestamp, and when I was around Caesar, right? And then we separated ways, and I went off on my way, and he went off on his, and he got lucky, and National Geographic found him, and he got a show, you know. No harm, no foul, but it's an interesting case history when I look back at my life and see what I did, you know. So just remember, the real hard work is coming with the owner, right? And so many dogs go home and it doesn't work out, and the dogs get put down because the owner can't. This is their, you know, they come out with some cash to pay up for the training, and what is their perception of what they're going to get out of this training? That's the key. Because every human Their perceptions are different based on the TV shows they watch, based on their environment and what they're fed into, that they think that training is, right? A dog is not a robot. Training is not just heel, sit down, stay. It's so much more, right? And that's what I try to tell people that, right? So we're going to be getting in some bite work and doing some things as we go along. I've got some things that are starting to build. We'll find out. So I can't tell you now. I'd have to kill you, but we got some things. All right, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, yakking at the screen. Remember, when you have a dog with a problem like this, if you can find a trainer that's willing to take it on and has the skill, okay? Remember, there's a lot of kids out there hanging up shingles and they don't have a clue, right? And they'll act like they know everything, but they don't know diddly squat, right? So be careful, right? You get what you pay for, right? In a nutshell. But remember, in the end, it really requires you to get off that couch, put in the hard work, and learn and grow with your animal. And a good training firm, a good trainer is going to be there for you to guide you, to help you. And all you got to do is want it. You got to have the passion. You got to want it. You got to get off that couch and work your animal. I've got some customers that have a totally different perspective, and they try to use me as they will. And I'm trying to tell them, and then I just let them fall wherever they're going to fall. And they've got a pet quality dog. They could have had so much more for it. You know, they could have had so much more. They wanted it, right? And then they don't follow what you ask, what you're trying to push on them. I got one customer that ended up getting another dog. I told her she needs to take care of the first dog, let alone get a second dog. Now she's got a second dog. And then I make money because I'll be training this other dog, but that's not the issue. The issue is she probably should have never got that second dog, but she's happy, and it's a she. So it's all about this nurturing nature, you know, the woman's nurturing nature. And another year or two goes by, she'll end up pregnant with kids, and that'll be the introduction to her motherhood. Mothering and coddling the dogs came first, right? All right, I'll talk to you later. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, yakking at the screen as usual. You guys have a good day. We're going to be going out and working Gunzo this morning. I'll see if I can get some videos of that, and then I want to start getting Zoomy out, but Zoomy's not quite ready. I want to get Zoomy into some behavioral loops that I need, and when we go out in public, so she throws it to me, it's a little fairer to her because she knows. I'll go over that at some point, where how important it is to install these behavior loops, and they're going to give me the tools I need to for a reactive dog that's going after people, right? We'll talk about it some other time, but you'll start to learn and grow in that. Tell your friends. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe, please, guys. I don't have hardly any numbers. It's because I don't work the internet like most people do. You know, I'm not the Robert Cabrals and setting up a studio and doing all this technological crap and having digital magic that's perfect, right? I don't have a film crew, right? Are they a better trainer than me? I don't think so. But they definitely can beat me in the social media aspects of things. They've got thousands of people following them. I might have 100 views per video. As usual, I'm the hidden secret in the back room. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day, guys. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off. Bye-bye.